Hello everyone and welcome to Championship Sunday here at the Hearthstone World Championship. I'm Raven and joining me is Sottle, and I am confused by that for a start, but mainly pumped for today and excited to bring you guys the first match. It is going to be Bunnyhopper versus Languagehacker in a battle of champions actually at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, what an incredible day it's going to be. Annalise set it up there all perfectly. There's so much money on the line. But more than that, there is a World Championship on the line. And when you look at this top 8, Raven, you have to remember that we started with over 6,000 players entering HCT tournaments this year. That's not even including just the people grinding it out for ladder points who didn't even make it to the first hurdle of qualifying for events. And out of those 6,000 plus, we are left with the 3 players who made multiple championships, Bunnyhopper, Languagehacker, Bloodyface. We're left with just Saiyan, who went on a 33-game streak without being eliminated from a tournament earlier this year. We have Hunter Ace, the global points leader, Viper, multiple time championship competitor as well, and 2 of the best from China alongside that. If anyone is watching this at home, still of the opinion that you cannot find a skill edge in Hearthstone, you need to take a good, long, hard look at yourself, because that's 8 out of 6,000, and they are objectively some of the best players in the world, and they have made it to this point, but the road is not over.
It really isn't, no. There's everything to play for. It's all going to come down to today. Everything else, you know, was serious, but playtime in comparison to making it to the final day of the World Championship. Let's take a look at some of the headlines here for the tournament so far. Bouncing back, Rogue finishes day number 3, which was yesterday, at 11-2 after starting the tournament 10-14 over the course of the previous 2 days in the group stage. An absolutely huge deal there, because a lot of people are asking big questions of Rogue, deemed the at least top 2 of the best classes in the game right now, and it did finally prove its worth, I think, yesterday.
It did indeed, and then after that, we're looking at Mage, which continues to be the one of the highest performing decks in the tournament with a 78% win rate. In fact, to contextualize that even further, 7 players in total brought Mage to this tournament. 6 of them find themselves in this top 8. The one who didn't is, much to the disappointment of the hometown crowd, Roger. But for Roger, it was not the Mage that let him down. He went 2-0 with his Mage. It was the other decks that failed to get him over the line. So it looks like Mage was the bring to this tournament. That was the deck that you had to find in your very limited testing period for this new expansion for this tournament. The players that found it have been rewarded.
It was genuinely a surprise to me that not more players brought it, mainly because it was one of the first decks I tried as soon as I saw it when the expansion came out, and it was the most obviously powerful below Rogue and Warrior. And yes, there was some tweaking to make it good versus anti-aggro, but it was exceptionally strong versus everything else. So that, in a short time period, the players had to submit, ticks the box for me to submit if I was playing.
Because you and I worked very heavily on trying to anti-aggro tech this deck, and you know, we got as far as the mind control techs and the voodoo dolls and so on that these players are bringing. But seeing the extra refinements that some of these players have made, because of course they're better deck builders than Raven and I, but they put themselves in a position where they're so stable that even some of the aggro matches like Zoo are feeling like better matchups for them than even the Warriors. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think the deck's power is going to continue to impress us today, but what's really impressive, let's be honest, is the sheer awesomeness of our predictions. Bunnyhopper 2-0, Saiyan 2-0, Shouty Fragmable 0-2. Bit of a surprise, to be honest. I was expecting better things from Shouty. Hunter Ace just about hung on yesterday, and then Roger, you know, one of the home favorites, did go out as well and killing TJ's, you know, forever pick, I feel, at this point. Did end up going 1-2. So
yeah, all that means is that the year of killing all day will continue. We are still in the year of killing all day.
It's like when you find something a forever home, right? But instead it's just a forever pick for TJ. But most importantly, we're doing pretty good.
We're crushing it.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed overall. So I'm pretty excited to get today's matches underway. We are going to crown a world champion by the end of the day. So make sure you stay tuned and keep an eye on everything that's going to go on. There's awesome Hearthstone coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the match. We are ready to go with the first match of Championship Sunday here at the Hearthstone World Championship. It is going to be Bunnyhopper versus Languagehacker. We've just heard a few thoughts from them. Always interesting to hear from the players because this was after their matches yesterday and the day before. So we get to see some of their perspectives on what's happened so far in the tournament.
We do, and I'm sure Languagehacker had a well-earned rest last night because he was involved in some absolute marathons. If you didn't tune in yesterday, please do. Once we're done, go back and watch the VODs of the day that's just preceded us, because Languagehacker was involved in 2 of the most absurd series of Hearthstone you are ever likely to see.
Yeah, he really was. And let's, not be around the bush here. Like, Bunnyhopper and Languagehacker are both championship winners, and they are butting heads, at this point in top 8. But let's take a look at the deck list, and the big thing that just sticks out to me, Sottle, is yes, there's the rogue bans, but where's that other top 2 class?
Do you mean the warrior, Raven?
Yes.
Well, fun fact. Every single lineup in this tournament that did not bring warrior is in this top 8.
Warrior sucks.
And that's
means... my analysis. There we go.
And what that means is that we are left in a situation where pretty much everyone in this top 8 is going to be looking to ban out rogue. And that is echoed in what we're seeing here with a double rogue ban. It goes to speak to what we brought up several times, that this idea of leaving up warrior has just been very time inefficient for the players who wanted to go with that kind of strategy. But in this case, it seems not so. These players are coming into the lineup with a strategy of leaving up warrior and banning rogue. And now, because of the fact that's been so effective, we're in this weird position where there's a bunch of people with lineups saying, okay, I'm going to leave up warrior and ban rogue. I think I'm fine against warrior. But the warriors aren't there for them to prey on anymore. So suddenly, we're going to have this much more mix and match system with a little bit more ban freedom to look around and try and snipe out a matchup that you don't want to fight. But these players are going to have to test the adaptability of their lineups now.
It really is. And this is a common thing in this style of tournament, where players want to build a lineup that gets out of groups.
Yep.
After that, they have to just deal with it, because they face what they face and they've not got much control. Let's get into game number 1 here. Bunnyhopper is going to be on the Zoo and Languagehacker on the Hunter. And this is still one of the sort of weird matchups in me, where I feel like the Hunter just often doesn't get enough done to actually deal with the Zoo, as long as the Zoo gets off to the start it really wants to.
Yeah, I said yesterday that in some matchups, this really feels like Unleash the Hound's the deck. It really does seem to struggle if it does not find that Unleash. This start of the Timberwolf Springpaw is about as good as it gets, though, for Languagehacker to be able to at least stave off some of the early pressure from Zoo, but that's all this does, right? Springpaw's being rushed from hand, even with 2 attack. They're never going to value trade. They're never going to tempo swing. They're just going to allow you to take out a couple of 1-drops from your opponent to make sure that they don't spread all the way across the board and get that oppressive Grim Rally off that's really going to mess you up. That Headhunter's Hatchet that he's mulliganed into, on the other hand, though, that's a card that can really tempo swing you and allow you to gain control of the board. Yeah, that really is the biggie for me, because, most of the time you can get it down with a minion, especially when you have the coin as well. And all these 1-drops for Languagehacker, but 3 swings is a lot. That is pretty much just 3 dead minions for Zoo over the course of time, and the mana investment for 1 turn definitely pays out in the end. But Bunnyhopper, not a bad start in hand either, as the Crystallize a nice solid 1-drop, as Zoo is wont to draw almost every turn of the game. But there's Ardent Squire, the Evil Genius, and that Solarium feels a little bit dead for now, but even going into turns 4 and 5 with such a low curve for this Zoo deck isn't bad. Tough decision. Direwolf Alpha, a very useful card to go alongside those Springpaws and subsequent Unleash the Hounds that might be drawn. But Master's Call is just the core of the deck in general. It's so hard to turn down.
Feels like Master's Call for me every time, because not only do you draw things like Hyena, like Rhino, these things that can help out in these fights, but most importantly, it also thins the minions out of the deck to start drawing the spells and some of the removal in terms of, for example, that the Unleash the Hounds, the Deadly Shots, for example, and Mark Shot. All of these things are going to be very, very powerful going forward.
Wonder if Bunnyhopper will consider a slower start here and just live tap to avoid giving Languagehacker a good target for that Headhunter's Hatchet. He can do the same thing and skip the live tap and just play out the Argent Squire, but that's very mana inefficient. It also kind of messes with his curve for the following turn if he spends his only 1-drop here.
The problem is you don't want to go behind on board, right? I think with Solarium, he can go behind on live taps because he can do that 1 big refill and then replay turn. So I think I like playing something here, and I think I would have gone for the Argent Squire, but I also maybe a little bit blinded by the Headhunter's Hatchet.
Yeah, I don't think Squire is ever the play there, because it's just so mana inefficient this turn, and then it will some of the time cause you to be mana inefficient next turn as well, right? If you don't draw a 1-drop off the top, then suddenly your turn 3 turns into tap 1-drop at the best of times. Like, it's not really the smoothest way to play out your curve. So I think your options there are make the best play if he doesn't have Headhunter's Hatchet, which is what he did, or play around Headhunter's Hatchet, which is just the life tap. I don't think any other play is really justifiable there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Not really what Bunny's after. How do you think he might just have to do an Evil Genius turn just to get some cards that he can actually play in the following turns? It is increasingly likely that he draws more 1-drops going forward, of course, but I wonder how slow he can afford to take it with this Hatchet and already the 1-1 on board.
Well, tap Argent Squire is still better development than playing the Evil Genius, right?
Yeah. It is. I was just wondering whether you actually just want...
do it.
You just might want a Lackey. What if it's the summon a 2-drop Lackey? I just think cashing the Lackeys on this bad turn means that you can have a more powerful turn the turn after, because you have 3 1-drops guaranteed next turn.
Oh, the Witchy Lackey is huge.
Wants to go now into a 3-drop. He knows it's dead to the weapon, right?
Exactly. He's got to try and dodge this Hatchet. Oh, hits the 2 health. Shat Sun Cleric. 2014 ting. Arena cards up in here. 3 2s for 3.
This might be one of the almost trademark slow hunter turns of just play Master's Call on 3, load up, get more options. Because you can just kill the 3-2 and leave a 1-1 on the board. It really isn't the end of the world.
He can also play 3 1-1s this turn when he has 2 Timberwolves in his hand. That's a lot of potential tempo for the following turn.
That's what you want the Hyena for, though, right, when you want to do that turn?
Sure, I can see that.
I just think this is as low threat as the board gets.
Yeah.
So take the turn now.
No, that's a good point.
And don't get, almost the overflow of minions that Zoo can just throw onto the board. Then you have to spend 3 mana just drawing some cards.
Oh, this hand is ugly for Bunnyhopper. I guess we should do the due diligence here where, I've been talking a lot about the threat of putting Archthief for farm in your Zoo deck because of how you can just draw it and it's a terrible card anytime before turn 7, and honestly a fairly mediocre one after that as well, in my opinion. I am personally a fan of playing more burst damage in terms of Leroys and Soulfires, but in the interest of balance, you can see here that drawing those cards early, they get stuck in your hand just as hard as well.
Yeah, and I think the big point here, for me at least, in terms of deck building, if we really want to go into it, is there's Archvillain Refarm, there's Leroy, and there's 2 Soulfires.
It's a lot of deck cards.
Bunny's pleasing everyone here, but isn't pleasing the Sea Giants.
I think that's more upsetting everyone.
Okay, well, it's the way you would see it, Sol.
Glass half full, glass half empty, yeah.
Welcome to our casting duo. But for me, the lack of Sea Giants is actually the most important thing in this deck, because we've seen Sea Giants do so much work in this tournament so far.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost crazy not to include them. With hindsight, of course.
And I think just a nod to the poor quality of his hand right now. He picks a second Solarium up off the Ethereal Lackey.
It's pretty insane draw/play potential as well.
Yeah.
With 2 Solariums, especially because he's not drawn that many 1-drops, which means there must be a lot in the deck left.
Languagehacker looking fairly comfortable in his position, though.
I wonder if he's considering holding on to this Hatchet as long as possible. Mainly because Hatchet plus Mark Shot kills a carpet. It's one of the few things that does in this deck.
I think he's got enough rush from hand right now that he doesn't have to tunnel on that idea, but it's definitely a nice addition, right? If he can justify keeping hold of it, then for sure that's something that'll be in his mind.
Yeah, he could save a minion, swing a weapon, but he could just not, and then he's still fine. He is going to clear the whole board, though, and just leave the Timberwolf up. Okay. He does have Rush plus the Mark Shot a little bit later with the Hench Clan Hog Steed. Does a similar job.
So much ability to just get damage out of hand, and if there's no Magic Carpet yet, it's probably going to be some time before he sees one. He might even be able to just, unleash the Beast plus another small minion, trade into it. He's got plenty of options.
Bunny playing the original Solarium, the in-deck Solarium, which means Languagehacker does know that there's a Mystery Warlock spell still in hand, which could, you know, has quite a wide range from Solarium to, say, Twisting Nether, potentially, depending on what's drawn.
And I do like it doing it that way because that Solarium has been the far left card in Bunnyhopper's hand since the Mulligan. So Languagehacker, if he's making hand reads, which I'm almost certain every player at this level in the top 8 of the World Championship is making some level of hand read, he's staring at that far left card and saying, okay, well, he hasn't had a smooth one-drop curve. He's very unlikely to be a minion. He's already played one Evil Genius. It's unlikely to be that. So you start narrowing it down to Soulfire, Leroy, Grim Rally, Rafarm. That's basically where your range of cards is. So that's the card that Languagehacker already has a good deal of information on. So Bunnyhopper goes, yep, here we go. I'll just show you what it is. It's a Solarium. This random card that I have is still a complete mystery to you.
I do like this Witchwood Imp inclusion in Zoo, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it.
It's just, well, look at the difference in this board power, and you can almost, well, you always guarantee it hits something, right? Because it has stealth, and you play a lot of minions. And I think right now, the game is so minion trade focused that just extra health on stuff that you shouldn't be allowed to have, so to speak, is actually nice. And it's a good target for Grim Rally, for Evil Genius, because you don't care that it's a 1-1 per se, you care that it's something to kill that does something else. Very much like the egg's job in the deck. It does something and it's a good kill target.
Sure. Look at that, though. Henchclan Hogsteed, so much efficiency coming off of the rush there.
It helps with a double buff to get it there, to get it up to 4 damage.
Languagehacker debating playing this Timberwolf, comes to the conclusion that if he plays it, then it's in play.
And outside of Mystery Spell, what's Warlock going to do?
Knife Jugglers, Soulfire, that's about it. It's not a whole lot.
There is a Defile on this board. We're talking random Warlock spells.
Gotta be a Defile here. You'd have to have something serious happen for there to be a Defile in Bunnyhopper's hand right now. I think we might have an admin being called over if that happened.
Wait, did we just change the last day to Wild?
Yeah.
This Juggler, though, can be the snapback play.
Spirit Bomb's scary. That exact comparison of those two cards, side to side, really made you have to stop and evaluate how much dealing 4 damage to yourself was worth in terms of mana cost, right? Because 4 damage for 3 or 4 damage to 2, but since Bunnyhopper is playing against the threat of Hunter, he chose to take the one that cost a mana extra.
You guys at home won't know this, but I've recently been talking about Sense Demons backstage. I won't get into it right now, but I was looking at it because he's not played any Void Walkers yet. And I feel like, yes, you can tap to draw. Warlock's the best deck in the game at drawing like that, but drawing specifically Demons, and if you drew Void Walkers, I feel they're so good versus Hunter that maybe it was worth a consideration based on, you know, what are you Shadow Bolting going forward, Tundra Rhino being a big deal, Hyena obviously at a certain level being a big deal too to chip so much damage from it. But there was just a thought that the hand's pretty bad and maybe tapping into 1 more minion isn't going to change it that much, whereas 3 mana draw 2 Demons that you can play. Maybe. Turned out pretty good, though.
And the Vicious Scrap Hound. I wonder if Bunny knew if he was about to get 3 armor in the near future, where he would have taken the cheaper card.
Cheaper card that it would have been a little bit easier to squeeze in with live taps, which is what he needs to start pressing as well pretty soon.
For sure.
Because that's 1 Soulfire gone as well, right?
Yep.
So Burst is Leroy and 1 Soulfire left. I struggle not to want to unleash the beast on this turn. It's so tricky as it's such a high cost card for this Hunter deck from Languagehacker. I feel like just getting 1 on the board, 1 locking it into a Zul'jin that you know you have in your hand, and also just getting something that, you know, Bunnyhopper has to think about. It deals 5 damage. Like, it has to be considered to be a kill.
Right. This Scrap Hound is about to start running wild. Bunnyhopper can just Shadow Bolt this trade away, start connecting face with the Scrap Hound, and suddenly Languagehacker knows there's no race potential, really, from this point. Well, okay, the Flame Imp Scrap Hound synergy is not really the best thing you want to be going for.
Wait, isn't it?
I guess.
1 mana 3/2 deals 0 to yourself?
Yeah, okay. If you want to look at it that way, I guess there's synergy there. Yeah,
half
sure.
empty, half full.
Yeah. There it is. Shadow Bolt board firmly back in the court of Bunnyhopper.
Small note though, the mysteries have been revealed now to Languagehacker. There is no special random cards that exist at the moment. There is one card that Bunnyhopper's not played all game, and that was turn 7, Sol.
Yep.
The read,
Yeah.
not Rafal. Potentially.
I think this turn that Bunny played, even though it involved a life tap and there's some kind of RNG involved in that, I think life tap plus what Bunny did, Languagehacker can assess as a better turn than just playing Refarm there. So I don't think he can rule out Refarm yet, but he'll certainly lean away from it, which means potentially narrowing it down to that card being almost exactly Leroy.
It's tough though, right? Because if you actually watched the order of play, you'll know he tapped into the Flame Imp, which means he had Mekaru and a Shadow Bolt and a Refarm, and he chose to tap instead of dropping a 7/8.
Sure.
Which is very small, but just if you just had those cards, would you always roll the dice if it was a farm there?
There was a 5/2 on the board, which you're heavily incentivized to want a Shadow Bolt and keep your board pushing. I think that's where my head's at with that statement.
Finally, Magic Carpet shows up. Better late than never. I'm going to help maybe clear off this 5/2 if this is a 1-drop. It is.
Sure is.
Looks good to me. Also, with the extra 4, you are starting to edge towards for Bunnyhopper here. This Leroy just closing out the game, to be honest.
Yep.
It looks like he might get there before Zul'jin's even a question.
So
Bunnyhopper never want to rush.
Except when there's a Magic Carpet in play.
Hey, nice. I do not see many merits to anything else except the Voidwalker rush. Because everything else just feels worse. You lose damage, you gain a taunt.
Yeah.
I'd rather kill my opponent than taunt up at this point in the game.
Agreed.
Oh? The deck's namesake? Oh, 1 turn away from a good time, actually. Kind of. Oh, in multiple ways. Should he mark shot first, maybe, just to see what happens? Or do you think he's committed to playing a Thunder Rhino this turn? Because he has 2.
Definitely leaning towards a Thunder Rhino turn.
Some of the Hunter discovers are pretty good here. Explosive Trap. MD just definitely isn't... Sorry, Misdirection isn't bad. Bomb Toss will kill off the carpet. A lot of Hunter spells do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Languagehacker is going to take his time over this one, but all I see is a card that kills the carpet.
I mean, it's a card that kills the carpet and kind of just concedes your turn to pass, take 4 more damage when you've got a good read that your opponent's hand has Leroy in it. I don't really see what that achieves, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what spell he was expecting to pick up there, which leaves him in a position that was better than the Thunder Rhino turn.
Explosive Trap.
Like, he's just achieved the same thing that he could have done with just his Tundra Rhino, and he would also have a 2/3 on the board. I honestly don't see it.
Okay.
Right? It's one thing like focusing on the carpet, but he's got a good read that that card is Leroy, right? Or at least he should have, I think.
Yeah, I think...
So leaving the Flame Imp alive is just kind of suicidal in that spot.
Sure, that's true. It's tough, right? Because the fear is that you play Rhino, which was a play I didn't hate, by the way.
Right.
But you play Rhino, it's a 2/3. It almost certainly dies to anything that's not that left card, right?
Yeah.
Because of the carpet. And then the carpet plus X pushes face for a bit more. But then the next turn, similar. And then the carpet plus X pushes face for a bit more.
But then the next turn, you've chipped away at the board there with your Tundra Rhino and Scavenging Hyena, which you're probably playing as well, just to try and regain control. Then on the next turn, your opponent has had to play 1-drops to trade into your Tundra Rhino with Rush, and you still have your Unleash the Hounds in your hand.
Okay.
Which is what's been used there from Languagehacker on the previous turn to achieve the same thing.
If we're talking the Hyena play as well, then that's, yeah. we can get into it. But most importantly, let's live in the now world where Bunnyhopper is
I want to live in the past.
No.
It's warm and safe back there.
Is it?
No, absolutely not. The present day is the best time to be alive that has ever existed, and tomorrow will be better. That is just a fact.
We can discuss that later. I have questions about that comment.
Okay.
That statement of Sol presenting fact as maybe not fact.
I will say is this Rhino is looking pretty juicy now with the additional pickup of that Shimmerfly.
I agree.
Real gas to play. Languagehacker touching one Tundra Rhino and then moving over to the other. We've talked a lot about hand reading so far in this game. That is one of the things that can be a giveaway to a smart opponent.
I think he wants to play the misdirection, right?
Okay.
Because he can't take damage. That's the problem.
Sure.
He can't do enough things to clear this board, so he's trying to get the board to clear itself.
Sure.
Because at 7, there's a Soulfire, there's a Leroy, and there's just more minions and more juggles as well. So, you know, you have to do something here to make it as likely as possible that the board deals with itself. But Bunnyhopper can just test for this and just... I think there's very little punish for him to just go face here.
With the 1-1?
I think so, yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Because I worry about, you know, does, for example, generating snakes, is that worse than an explosive trap for you? I think so.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the cards to go wide and match it.
Right.
So I think actually go face, see if it's explosive or freezing. Yes. And if it's not, sick. If it is freezing, well, you've got the mana to replay it actually as a 3-drop. So
Okay, so here's the thing. With Caster Vision, attacking with the 1-1 is guaranteed lethal this turn, right? It is what Bunnyhopper's going to go for here, but he has the fear of Explosive Trap, because if it's exactly Explosive Trap, he wants to use this Magic Carpet to rush his minions into the Tundra Rhino beforehand. But the majority of the secrets that could be played there, he has guaranteed lethal if he attacks with the 1-1. So I like the final identification. He life-tapped, he assessed his options, and he said, you know what? I don't believe you. I'm going face, and I have lethal.
And also as well, the downsides of that being Explosive Trap did not outweigh the upside. It's not like he was dead. He was not dead to Explosive Trap. It wasn't even close. Yes, he was in a worse position, but he was still in a good position in the match overall and needed 1 damage. So yeah, really good play from Bunnyhopper. Nice heads-up trap testing. There we go.
The one world that would have been scary there for Bunnyhopper, he attacks into the Explosive Trap, his board disappears, he redevelops a very mediocre board, and then Zul'jin comes down on the follow-up for Bunnyhopper, generating Unleash the Hounds, Unleash the Beast, all that kind of stuff. That would be the one nagging doubt in his mind at that point.
Yeah, I guess the real question is that just a problem regardless of what secret is if he doesn't lethal?
Yes.
Yeah, because
yes, exactly.
Zul'jin comes down, Unleash happens anyway, right? So you go for it, yeah. Really heads up. It's easy for us knowing that it's misdirection, that was guaranteed lethal. Easy for us to say, but really difficult for these players to keep their focus on this incredible stage here at the Hearthstone World Championship. Bunnyhopper leading 1-0. And I'm a bit torn as well. Bunnyhopper's my current pick.
Yeah.
He was my pick previous champs, but Languagehacker was my pick the champs before. Can I take the crown of prediction god this year? Come on, all the way to Worlds?
It's close.
Like,
we'll have to run the numbers. Because
Nope.
I think the first half of the year I was still pretty dominant, and then the second half of the year you took over. So we'll have to run the numbers.
haven't the numbers already ran that 2 of my players were in top 8 worlds? Does that not count?
No.
Yep, they count for double points at least.
Where is this rulebook?
I'll write it and then let you know. Okay, I believe we are going straight into the next game as well. And just a reminder for anyone who's tuned in a little bit late, maybe didn't quite set their alarm clock on time, but the Rogues are banned out and there are no Warriors in either player's lineup.
Right.
So we've got a nice mixed bag for you guys. But I will go back and to say, I honestly believe Mage is going to be a continued powerhouse for the foreseeable future. Because I just don't think there are that many good counters, to be honest, if it's built right.
Not really. I mean, we've seen Languagehacker playing Betrayal in his Rogue deck, which definitely is going to help out with the matchup in certain spots. But a lot of decks just don't have access to cards in their class that can deal with the boards that Mage can generate. They just don't have it. Which means if Conjurer's Calling comes early for the Mage, it's just a lockout a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that doesn't even necessarily have to be the Mountain Giant Conjurer's turn on, turn 3, 4, or 4, 5. You can Conjurer's Calling 4-drops, and because the way the game is right now, that's hard to come back from outside of certain cards in a couple of classes, and that's literally it. Like, if Languagehacker gets a 4-drop down and then manages to get the Conjurer's Calling, there's a big question on Bunnyhopper how he even deals with that. Because Unleash the Hounds, unless it's a completely terrible Conjurers on 4, just doesn't really kill anything. You have to have Unleash plus buff, or actual hard removal multiple times. It's very, very difficult. And we are going to see the Mage versus the Hunter now. Languagehacker off to a pretty good start, as I see a Book of Spectres there. And even, to be frank, a Sunfury Protector in his hand can negate some of this early pressure that Bunnyhopper could create in a weird way that Hunter does by just playing 1-mana 1/1s on the board.
Yeah. Just a 2-3 say go. Book of Spectres was picked up by Language, as you mentioned, but he tossed away the Conjurer's Calling to go looking for more early game plays.
Wait, sorry, I missed it because I'm rubbish.
Yeah.
But did he have Book of Spectres and Conjuring?
He full mulliganed, including Conjurer's Call.
Okay, just because if he had Book and Conjuring and mulled the Conjuring, I would be shocked.
Yeah.
Because that is a game I do not want to play.
Well,
never mind.
best of both worlds. Yep. Hannah Montana up in here.
I will say your range of references is quite wide. As we go from very intricate, like fancy shows that people don't really watch, but you do, to Hannah Montana.
Yep.
Okay, well, Book of Spectres looks good to me. Does look better than the Ping. You could say, but Ping is just an easy kill. Yeah, drawing cards is pretty cool too. And now just options. And Languagehacker definitely digging for something to just stick early and maybe land his Conjurer's Calling ASAP.
So a quick breakdown of Languagehacker's build of this deck. He does have double Rabble Bouncer, which almost appears to be standard at this point. 7-mana Taunt that gets discounted by 1 for each minion your opponent has in play, which is such an obvious card for the deck that it astounds me it wasn't just in the first build.
We are very dumb, yeah.
Because you just struggle with big wide board states. You don't have AoE options, and it's something that you really struggle to come back against. So if that then gives you a 0-mana minion that you can use to either be defensive if you are in danger of dying, or offensive if you have the freedom of a high life total to just play it for 0 and then spam Conjurer's Calling on it until the game ends, that's just a fantastic addition. He also has 2 copies of Dragonmaw Scorcher in the deck, alongside double Mind Control tech as anti-aggro options. No early game stealth minion. We've seen both the 3 and 4 mana option of stealth being used in this tournament. Languagehacker has neither.
Yeah, and I do feel there does need to be a card there to bridge a gap. I think that 3 or 4 drop is actually pretty powerful overall, just to be able to stick something almost guaranteed.
Well, I think a lot of the lists that are playing the stealth things are cutting Scale Worm. So in Languagehacker's list, the Scale Worm is that card that's bridging the gap instead of, it can just pick up a 2-for-1 naturally as opposed to trying to do the stealth thing.
Yeah, I just meant more as a Conjurer's Calling target, because the Scale Worm often has 1 health once you've traded it into something. Still, I am a fan of Scale Worm as well, and I'm a fan of Mountain Giant too, and not for the first time we've seen players just okay with a Book of Spectres to a full hand.
Yep.
They burn something because Conjurer's Calling is there. At least 1 is safe, and if 1's safe, it means 2's safe, because that's how Twin Spell works.
And this next card that burns off the top, if it's something impactful, you might get a visceral reaction to it. It's meaningless. This game is not going to go to fatigue, so if Languagehacker is not going to draw his entire deck, this card that he burns off the top next turn might as well be the last card in its deck. It's exactly the same thing. Has 0 impact. What has a massive impact is drawing 3 cards for 2 mana.
Yeah, one of the most mentally challenging things to get over in Hearthstone is cards burnt in this fashion. It's very difficult because, yeah, that's right, Sol, but what if it's Khadgar? Right, but if you never drew it, it doesn't matter. And it's very, very difficult to get around. I'm still working on it myself. Bunnyhopper, though, just going to go wide on the board. It's one thing that right now there isn't a huge punish for until turn 5, is going this wide with low health minions. But we can see this. It's actually a very good matchup. Maybe the best. For the
right on cue,
Dragonmaw Scorcher.
It was Khadgar, and there was a visceral reaction from the crowd.
It's almost like we know stuff.
Yeah.
Scale High, though, going to be on 1 health as well. We just predict the whole game. It's no problem at all.
Wait, this is actually getting a bit weird now, isn't it?
Okay. Next turn, Mountain Giant into 2/7/8 taunts.
He's not doing it next turn, right? It'll cost him 6.
Turn after, Mountain
yeah,
Giant.
it'll cost him-
That's when he does it.
Okay.
There you go.
2 7/8s?
Yeah.
All right.
Going to really test my skills. And if this is right, I'm going to just say, and then later, Raven becomes the world champion.
Truly the darkest timeline.
I agree. We'll note something that we've not really talked about. Sorry to cut you off
Yeah, go
slightly.
ahead.
But the Witchwood Grizzly is a card I do like in Hunter. We've not been the biggest fan of Hunter this tournament, I'll say.
Sure thing.
But Witchwood Grizzly, this inclusion that I believe Bunnyhopper and Shouty play, because they did practice together,
Yep.
is nice. I do like it, because it is just a stopgap for the weird aggro matchups that you can play.
Interesting choice for Bunnyhopper. 5-3 into his opponent's Ziliak's turn here. I don't know whether he was trying to use this 5-3 to discourage something else. I guess the Dragonmaw Scorcher is what he's looking at. And yes, when you break it down, that makes a lot of sense. There's 1 Ziliax in the deck. There's 2 Dragonmaw Scorchers in the deck. So he would have been devastated by a Dragonmaw Scorcher turn there, played the Scavenging Hyena to play around it. Just so happened Languagehacker had, once again, the Hannah Montana hand and had Ziliax and Dragonmaw.
And let's wind all the way back to the importance of Book of Spectres. Languagehacker has drawn many, many cards this game.
Yes.
Many more than a normal game should be allowed.
Yes.
But he's done it. And this is why he's so deep and has all of these options. I said, the following turn for the Giant play, he doesn't have to make the play. It's not his only option. He's got other things depending on what Bunnyhopper does go for.
It's a real good one, though.
I agree. I'm just saying, for example, there's Mind Control Tech, there's the Scorchers, there's all sorts. There's even just Minion Taunt. Mind Control Tech Taunt, create a double taunt.
The one thing that's really missing from this hand is that card that we focused on early, the Rabble Bouncer. That's the one that would really blow this game open for Languagehacker, because it doesn't really matter if he does miss on those taunts from the Mountain Giant, if he goes down that line, then just the amount of direct damage that he's going to start taking here could just ramp up. This deck does lack healing, especially now that this Ziliax has bitten the dust.
Bootleg Blessing of Kings being played there on the Timberwolf. There's Rabble Bouncer, another good call. But for now, I think now's the time.
Agreed.
Giants assemble, double 7/8 taunt. Oh, ruined.
You blew it, Raven. We had a good thing
I should
going.
have stopped quick whiles ahead.
You realize, this was the call to make, because this is twice as likely as the other outcomes, statistically.
Statistics, sticks.
You messed up.
Hey, Aaron. Deadly shot. Coming in pretty clutch here, to be honest. Just, yes, it doesn't do the whole job,
boy.
but with Wing Blast as well, it's a big deal.
Now, does Bunnyhopper want to trade down? This is the catch-22, the rock and a hard place situation, because you want to go face. You don't want to sink 8 of your damage into a Mountain Giant, but if you don't, that's how Twin Spell works. Your opponent just has another copy to do exactly the same thing again next turn. And then you're in trouble. But in terms of efficient ways to deal 8 damage to a Mountain Giant,
this is good.
that's about as good as it gets.
Normally, I don't like the halfway house, but that one looks pretty juicy to me. And now there's 2 6/4s and a 3/1. It's like Bunnyhopper played his own Conjurer's Call and summoned loads of Timberwolves.
Yep.
Also, funnily enough, small note, plays around Mind Control Tech.
Sure does.
Would have been a sick turn with Rabble Bouncer. It's such a good combo.
Yes.
Now, questions. I do wonder if he's actually considering going for the Witch Doctor first, because there are a lot of mage cards that could help him out right now.
If he plays the Witch Doctor, whiffs, and then has to bail out into the Rabble Bouncer, he then can't ping the 3/1. And that's a functional 5/1 right now, even without factoring in any additional rush or charge from hand. You're going to play this turn without pinging a 5/1?
Well, then, do you think he would actually just go to Fire Tree Witch Doctor, Mind Control Tech, and then Sun Fury as a stopgap? Whew. Oh, okay. Give him some more 1-drops into Rabble Bouncer. Never mind with them.
Young Dragonhawk!
Wind Fury!
Oh boy!
Languagehacker's head goes down a little bit. He did not plan for this.
Oh no, Raven. Oh, the animal companion, Hoffa and Leok are both insane now because of that Dragon Hawk.
And Vicious Scalehide's going to hit for 3.
Yep.
I think Languagehacker decided on the play too late.
It's very possible.
He had no time to really
There's
think about and
Leok.
react, and this is getting absurd. That's
4 goes in, 4 goes in. That's
kill.
enough.
Yep.
That's a concede from Languagehacker. The young Dragon Hawk.
MVP.
Crowd enraptured in that game. If there is one thing that you can say about Mage, regardless of your opinion on its power level, and I think the statistics in this tournament kind of speak for themselves as far as that goes, the games are just wild every single time.
I love it. That's one of the reasons I love the deck so much.
Yeah.
1, it's good, and 2, it is really fun no matter which end of the stick you're on.
Yeah. And it's massively demanding as well. The amount of mental energy you have to exert into thinking about all these possible outcomes and, you know, which of these potential 1-outers do I go for? The one in the 5-drop pool, the one in the 6-drop pool? Do I dig for Discover instead? Do I draw cards? Which of these is the most statistically likely to get me out of it? Languagehacker had that exact problem, and he said, I'm going to go for the Conjurer's Call-in, Young Dragonhawk to the face.
Yeah, I think the decision was made a little bit too late, although I do like the heads-up play because they were just 1-drops at the end of the day, but Bunnyhopper taking the lead 2-0. One more game for him, and he is moving on to the top 4 in the semi-finals. Cannot wait, but we are going to have to wait just a couple of minutes. We're just going to a quick break. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back. Languagehacker versus Bunnyhopper. Mountain to climb for Languagehacker at this point, being at 0-2 down. Bunnyhopper only having his Mage left. And again, we've talked about the sheer power level of Mage and how well it's been performing in this tournament. I'm feeling Bunnyhopper right now, Sol.
Yeah, beyond having a mountain to climb, Languagehacker might have a couple of mountain giants to climb sooner rather than later, because Shaman has Scheme, and it takes a long time to get cooking. If there's an early explosive draw from the Mage, they have little to be able to deal with that. Yes, if your opponent just plays a Twilight Drake, you can Earthshock it. Yes, if your opponent just plays a Mountain Giant, you can Hex it. What happens if they just wait until turn 6 and just go off? Then what do you do?
Lose more often than not, but we'll get to that as it's actually Hunter is going to be up. It's a flipped match from the previous game that we've had there, so it is going to be the Hunter versus Mage. Sol's just talking about the wrong thing.
I am indeed.
Just can't get the help these days, so.
The help?
Yeah.
Jeez.
You saying you don't help me?
Very rarely, to be honest.
Well, there you go. Sol just honestly saying how much of a terrible person he is.
Yeah.
But most importantly, just remember everything we said in the previous game, and then, yeah, mix it back, but flip tables.
Control-C, Control-V.
Yeah. But most importantly, just talk about Bunnyhopper's Mage list as it is, yet again, another variation. He does play the Archmage Aragorn, which is a very interesting 2-mana 2/2, that when you draw a minion, you generate an additional copy of it in hand. But I think the biggest thing for me is the Arcane Keysmiths. These, when I've been messing with this deck, have been actually quite powerful. Just getting secrets that you can, you know, for this matchup, for example, Ice Barriers do a lot of work. Even just, you know, you could say Vaporize Splitting Image against Taunt minions is very powerful.
Yeah.
So these secrets actually do a pretty good job and do hover in that 4 slot that we talk about a lot in Mage. Oh,
My general noise of excitement there was the opening hand Rabble Bouncer is in play for Bunnyhopper, and his hand just keeps improving. Fire Tree Witch Doctor on curve, the best early game minion because it's the one you can play with 0 downside. No, does not shrink your hand size to play it out on curve like a Sunfury Protector would. No sacrifice later either of losing those big defensive taunt walls.
And this Discover from the Fire Tree Witch Doctor be very, very impactful to the game. As again, just Mage spells are just generally quite good. I feel they do the AoE trick pretty well. They do the burst damage pretty well. They do the removal pretty well in terms of spot removal like Polymorph, just for the Hyenas. Also, bear in mind, something to always think about with Conjurer's Calling. Yes, it's sweet making loads of giants, but you can also Conjurer's Calling a huge Hyena that you have no way to remove and just create 2/2 drops.
Yeah, we saw that
it's
strategy
doable.
work out perfectly for Languagehacker in the previous game, but yes, that is for sure something that you do have to look out for. Edwin Van Cleefs, huge Hyenas, 6/4 Timberwolves, you know, targets with way more stats than they should have in their mana slot. You can Conjurer's Calling them away and replace them with 2 significantly smaller minions. Also, just Conjurer's Calling taunts for lethal, just so you can push through and not have to worry about it.
Card's really good if you didn't know by now. You should play it.
What to do? What to do? I see a vision in the flame.
Interesting, worth covering. Bunnyhopper did actually end up going with the Sunfury Protector on the previous turn, choosing to play out the additional point of health as opposed to the zero downside minion. Thinking about, you know, the second links coming from hand alongside a Direwolf or a Timberwolf, and did not want to make life easy for Languagehacker to be able to clear his board and stick an oppressive minion. Sunfury Protector much more difficult to do that to than the Fire Tree Witch Doctor. It just turned out that Languagehacker just had the smooth curve into the Animal Companion, which ended up making the Sunfury Protector look a bit silly.
Yeah, most importantly as well, although the Hatchet would have cleaned up that extra 2 health or the extra 1 health, it would mean that there would be no beast on board going forward, as it would have took his whole mana as well.
Yep.
So even worst case scenario, it keeps the board clear. Languagehacker going to do the straightforward play, and maybe the most powerful turn 3 in the game of a single card.
Of a single card.
Yeah, a single turn 3 play, like one card. Obviously, if you're going to start backstab, prep thing.
Yeah, I mean, because you did pause slightly before
and
you
then
said that.
I very quickly pivoted.
I know, but like as you were pausing, my head was just doing the slow turn towards you.
Before you completed the turn, I added things, and that is how the rules go.
Okay.
Turn faster next time, Sol.
Fair enough.
And now, just again, Languagehacker, tons and tons of options. It continues to baffle me, to be honest, that a deck with so many bad-looking one-drops can actually win games of Hearthstone. But it can.
Bunnyhopper can just win the board here. That's a great position to be in as this mage deck this early on.
That's Frostbolt Ping.
Frostbolt Ping, or he can even Frostbolt double trade a Rugal if he wants to put a big threat check minion into play.
Or he can just double trade, play a Twilight Drake.
Also,
and just
extremely valid.
Yeah,
I don't know why I wasn't looking at that option.
Because you were too busy slow turning, looking at me and judging me, Sol.
Very possible. Let's go with that explanation. Because, yeah, this covers everything. It's good against Dire Frenzy. It's good against Marked Shot.
Set up for a Conjurer's Calling
and
if he really wants.
for a Conjurer's Calling that you have in hand, yeah. And it gives you the top deck Khadgar out, which just ends the game.
And still has ping options along with Conjurers, along with that Frostbolt. Or just play Aragul and get a 2-2 down. It is very, very flexible turn.
This is clearly the best play, and I'm dumb.
Correct. Agreed. Languagehacker just a coin away from being able to do this easily, but instead has to commit, frankly, a lot of resources actually to killing just a Twilight Drake that was played.
Yikes.
That is a lot of stuff to kill 1-4-6.
That is a medium yikes, at least.
Yeah. And Bunnyhopper's also kind of okay with it to just play. This is the question, and this is the difference in how you can play the mage. He could just play the Rabble Bouncer. It's after that unlikely to die, I would say, because you just saw all of those. You can, put up at least 5 damage, I guess. So maybe it's medium likely to die. So it's in the middle. Or you can wait because he has Conjurer's Calling and nothing that good to play. So he could just ping and play Aragul, ping the 1-1.
Yeah, that interests me because it allows him kind of a smoother curve from there on. It means he can then threat check every turn, right? Like he can have his slow turn here, and then turn 6, he can play his Rabble Bouncer most likely, and then turn 7, he's going straight into the Astromancer. So it demands Languagehacker to clear big minions off the board multiple turns in a row under the threat of Conjurer's Calling. He does choose to just drop it, though. And it's certainly hard to present a coherent counter-argument to just playing a 2-7 taunt into this board.
Yeah, you know there's 5 damage, though, because there's the second links in hand that Bunnyhopper is fully aware of.
That's fair.
So you know there's 5. It only requires Languagehacker to have 2. There are multiple cards in the deck. So there's the Hatchet, the Hogsteeds, the Mark Shot. These can all do the job. But I think what Bunnyhopper might be considering is, if my opponent does all that, their board sucks.
Yep.
Afterwards. And even just a small note, just one of the many Conjurer's tricks you can do is Voodoo Doll Conjurer's Calling. Fantastic little combo, get a couple of 3-drops and kill a minion. Means that there is spot removal for, say, even without the Frostbolt, say a Misha pops up again.
Yeah.
And just remove it and create 2 3-drops. Actually quite like baited.
Hey, there's only one pick here. We've been talking about how what really makes these mage decks work is playing the stealth minions. So it's an easy flare.
You laugh, but also he plays 2 Arcane Keysmiths, so maybe it's not that laughable to get flare.
Yeah.
Saul, even when he tries to make jokes, ends up being correct. This is the dull turn you were talking about, though. This is the difference of not the other plays. But it was kind of an air turn from Languagehacker too, because there's a 1-1 on the board on turn 5.
Yeah.
You're not feeling too terrible with Bunnyhopper being at 23 health.
And all Bunny's done is he's transferred the air turn from last turn to this, because if he didn't play the Rabble Bouncer on the previous turn, he'd be making almost exactly this same turn that he's making right now. So it's just a matter of like which board state is better to make that weak turn into. This one that I was looking at last turn, or the unknown turn that I'm going to be facing down next turn.
And even now, very similar to the previous turn, Archmage Aragul ping the 1-1, you go, friend, seems completely reasonable, because Aragul, although not really deemed a massive threat, well, if your opponent can double up on minions, well, cool, that's actually pretty sick. Whoa! Bunnyhopper wants stuff. He wants to win the board. Okay.
I was about to suggest this.
Okay.
It's a big board swing.
And, as always, with the Conjurer's Call, he still keeps 1 in hand and can follow up with the Astromancer.
Yeah, and I'll explain exactly why I wanted to do this as soon as I saw it. On average, you put about 5 damage into play with 2 3-drops, which means your opponent's on-curve play that you're scared of is the Unleash the Beast. That's something that would allow them to really start pushing a lot of initiative. Now, it's challenge on board. You delete it from your mind and you play Astromancer on the following turn on an empty board on turn 7 on curve with second Conjurer's Calling in hand to threaten. It's great recognition of just 2 to 3 turn planning from Bunnyhopper. Loving it.
You know what, Saul? That's smart. That was my mini admirable impression. No accent, but word choice. So
Admirable is very good at accents. It's amazing that...
He's also very good at telling people they're smart. It's one of my favorite things about him. He's one of the only people who tells me I'm smart sometimes.
But it's amazing that if he's so good at accents, why does he use the one he has? You'd think he'd just change it.
What to do?
Very true. Yeah. And also, good at all but one that he does the most, which is the British accent.
Yeah, true. His British accent is
that's the worst, and he does that by far the most. But yeah, you can see the way this adds up. You broke it down very well. Just 3-3 into the 5-2, and then just play an Astromancer if you want. Or now, he could actually play Keysmith Conjurers again for double 4-drops. And if he wants the secret protection.
This is a moment, like when you're actually playing competitive Hearthstone and your opponent does something... Sorry, I just had to briefly stop and evaluate who that's good for right now. And I'm going to go with Bunnyhopper because it's a 7-6.
Yeah,
but when you're playing competitive Hearthstone, you have these moments where you just feel like you've kind of got outplayed because your opponent does something. You're a very good player, so you're smart enough to understand why they did it. So that play happens, and Languagehacker goes, oh no, he wants me to unleash the beast, and then he can just double trade, and he's probably just going to play Astromancer straight afterwards. Oh, I don't have any better options.
It's still the play.
And it's just a terrible feeling to be in, especially when you're 0-2 down, especially when it's singular limb, especially when you worked so hard yesterday. 5 hours of Hearthstone he must have played, something like that, yesterday over the course of a couple of series. And now he's here just slowly feeling this descent into a 3-0 sweep for Bunnyhopper. Terrible feeling for Languagehacker.
I will say, the discipline to do it anyway is pretty good, because a lot of players will be like, oh, this just gets wrecked. I'll do something else, but that something else is probably just worse in the long run.
Right.
Bear in mind now, he has 2 5/5 rush minions in the Zul'jin tank that he does have in hand now, which means something can happen if he can get there.
Sorry, the 10-mana Astromancer.
I'm just loving the 7-mana Arcane Keysmith.
Yep.
It's a big one. I like it now, though. Is there any reason to... Well, I mean, you can hit Conjurer's Calling, I guess.
Yeah, I think you connect this 7 and then you cash out, because it's going to make you very, very slow from here. If you cash out here, you have this turn with Arcane Keysmith, right? Conjurer's Calling, Arcane Keysmith, take some disruption for your opponent. You just jam Ysera next turn.
Okay, you sold me. Okay. I just struggle to get rid of a 7-6. It's definitely not going to be a 7-6 layer.
You're going to replace it with 7-ish damage in alternate 5-drops, though, right?
Maybe. Maybe not.
I mean, that's the big question. Whoa, he's going to keep it.
Oh, me and Bunnyhopper, same wavelength as always.
Apparently.
Is that Spellbender?
See if we can get confirmation on which one he took.
Good.
Spellbender indeed.
Oh. Dire Frenzy.
Dire Frenzy.
It might happen as well because it's just... Languagehacker now needs to do something more powerful. Is he? Oh, I guess he played 2 Unleash the Beast. I was wondering if Bunnyhopper actually highly valued 6 health.
Fair.
Very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Right, 6, like out of reach of a beasting, say, Kill Command, for example. Oh wait, I'm talking rubbish. I actually didn't play Kill Command in this version.
Languagehacker, check number 1, no mirror entity. Check number 2, no counterspell. So now he's thinking splitting image.
Now he's thinking, Leok, please.
But even then, after he gets Leok, he doesn't know what he can't. If it's splitting image, he can't just attack into a 7/6 here. That's insane. Yup. He respects the splitting image.
Hopper, please.
And because of that secret bluff, Bunnyhopper keeps his 7/6. Languagehacker had to respect the threat of splitting image and trade into the smallest minion first.
And again, Languagehacker doing what he has to do. He trades into the Venture Co, knowing that there is another Conjurer's Calling in hand. So Bunny can just go face. He can try and kill off something beforehand, but it doesn't really matter because he'll die anyway. But yeah, it means that Bunnyhopper has to go face and then decide whether he wants to Conjurer's Calling or put a 7-attack minion to a Leok.
That turn is a lesson for those of you at home just in the power of concealed information.
Right.
When you pick a random secret, it matters, of course, what the secret is, but it also matters all the things the secret is not to your opponent, because they are so fearful of just every random effect in the game that they will play woefully inefficient turns in response to it.
Look at that turn if it was Counterspell. Well, he doesn't even deal 3 because the dog doesn't exist.
Yeah, the Unleash just doesn't even come
nothing.
out. Yep.
You know, and so on and so on. It's when the Dire Frenzy turn comes down. When the splitting image was the big deal if it could have been. And also, at the moment, and this is one of the things I think is powerful, the pool of secrets is so small that there's almost an auto-assumption that the mage always gets a good secret that they want because the pool is so small right now for mage secrets.
Yeah.
And that's just a good turn again. Might not be the most mind-blowing minions. Admirable's favorite rogue legendary, I believe. But still, that is wide enough to say Languagehacker play a lot of 1/1s in the deck and a couple of 2/2s. Here are all my guys, and they're definitely bigger than yours. Are we going to see... Oh, I thought we were going to see Hogsky Dire Frenzy.
We do just have to keep our eyes open now because Bunnyhopper is just about running out of pressure. And there is a Zul'jin in his future, and it's a Zul'jin with 3 5/5 rush minions inside it, which can make an absolute mess of the board state that Bunnyhopper generates. If he just plays Ysera here, Ysera gets value traded by 3 5/5 rush minions coming out from Zul'jin.
Yeah, I don't think he will now, though.
Yep.
Welcome to the value town. Arago plus Book of Spectres. He could have Book of Spectres into Astromancer, but the idea of this is just going to read.
Oh, jeez. All right, calm down.
Wow! I love the way, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you could hear the crowd, but it went, whoa, whoa, whoa! Every single draw. Arago bringing the value town and very, very cool tech from Bunnyhopper.
The crowd noise ramped up and then achieved unity, precision, and perfection as Ziliax arrived in the hand finally.
And there's still the secret. The secret, as far as Languagehacker is aware, could be Vape, could be Ice Barrier, could be Spellbender, of course. And that's it? I think he's tried to proc every other one. No,
sorry, I was looking at the Discover. It's Vape Barrier, Spellbender. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Nova as well, fantastic. And now Languagehacker has to deal with 2 potential mage spells. Could be Burst for lethal, could be Stall, could be more secrets. The list goes on.
Here comes the big axe.
Here comes the big axe. Oh, nice timing for Markshot, actually, before any of Languagehacker's own minions come out.
Yep.
Unleash the Hounds. Upstaged by Unleash the Beasts. Whew. Oh, holy moly.
Okay.
Trackings, though. going to slice and dice this deck all the way down to 4 cards.
Yeah. You will take it, though. In this spot, when you just generated this board out of nothing, you take those.
I mean, that's just a lot of damage.
And now he knows. Languagehacker knows exactly what that spell is, what that secret is, sorry. And he knows that his Dire Frenzies are pretty much unusable now this game, especially as that second marked shot was burned away.
There's nothing to test with that you can just a throwaway spell.
Yeah.
He has 3 of them, Sol. 3 of them. Wait. Is it ever fine?
Why?
Wait, does it still shuffle even though it's not a beast?
It should do. So I've never seen it specifically with Dire Frenzy, but say if you do a give a demon +2/+2 and it hits on a spellbender, it does buff it. So I assume based on that the check is done on the minion that you target, and then spellbender just assumes the identity of whatever it was targeted at.
For example, I just mean if next turn Languagehacker has a beast on board, and you just double Dire Frenzy hero power, is it that bad? It pulls him away from fatigue. And then he has 50-50 chance of drawing a good beast or a bad one.
And your opponent has just like the world's biggest minion in play to hit you in the face with. It doesn't sound great.
World's biggest minion? 4 attacks on.
It's pretty big.
It's 4/6.
It doesn't make the big noise though.
Well, there you go. But he has a Dire Frenzy minion to attack him too.
Calculations are flawless.
Also, he might just kill him.
Don't make mistakes.
If it wasn't for this Frost Nova.
This Frost Nova coming in super clutch.
Oh, okay. That's unfortunate because there is Rhino and Hyena, or would have been Rhino and Hyena in hand.
Yeah. It's looking like Bunnyhopper is the one feeling under pressure now, just based on the board states. This is the thing with Mage. It doesn't have any way to clear these kind of boards without relying on random effects.
What I gonna do with
I suppose Bunny drawn 0 Giants this game.
Yeah, I think so.
With all that card draw as well, not hitting the big boys.
Sounds right. I think Bunny's just hoping he can use these 2 minions to kind of regain board control with double Dragon Maw on the following turn. Double Dragon Maw was just a little bit short of being good enough. Double Ziliax, same thing. Ooh!
I like it.
He's about to get the bad news that comes along with double Ziliax, though.
I think this is good though, because this is just, well, you know what? You need to do something quite magical or die.
Right.
And the Frost Nova was miracle number 1. There needs to be a miracle number 2. And yes, there's double Ziliax, yes, there's double Dragon Maw, but still. Bunnyhopper still has to just work out exactly what's better. Because you can't even 50-50, right? You can't 1 Ziliax, 1 Dragon Maw, doesn't really change.
Doesn't do anything.
No, it doesn't do it. Like, the only problem is the double Dragon Maw kills the Huffer, but also that's it.
Yep.
So I was thinking maybe 1 Dragon Maw kills the dog. The Ziliax can kill the 2/4. The 5/5 goes into the Huffer that's then not buffed anymore. Oh wait, the Scorcher would damage it anyway. So it would die. Okay. Yeah, don't see it. I just
feel like double Ziliax is the only turn.
I do like the splits as well.
Oh,
not magnetizing them, of course.
Yes, I realized I didn't make that clear, but yeah, double Ziliax being played separately, vastly superior in this situation.
Bunnyhopper's just wishing that he had 3 spare mana to play a splitting image this turn.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Sick.
The good news for Bunnyhopper, though, is with this Spellbender in play still, he's feeling extra secure that these Ziliax have to be hit again by Languagehacker's minions.
It's actually... Every turn, I feel like the other player is ahead.
It's super close.
It really does, because at one point I was like, wow, like Bunnyhopper's just dead. And I'm like, oh wow, Languagehacker's got a big hand, but not a lot for right now.
Right.
Like,
I thought the Voodoo Doll plus Conjurer's Calling turn into the Astromancer curve was going to be game-winning for Bunnyhopper, but it got to the point where Zul'jin was able to make a big enough impact to get Languagehacker back into it. And I feel like he's significantly ahead in this position, but definitely not unwinnable with a couple of good draws.
You've also got to look at the Aragorn turn. He could have actually Book of Spected into the into the Astromancer instead.
Sure.
And put way more pressure on the board. Bunnyhopper all the way down to 4. So much damage. A little bit late for the armor generation minion that has just been drawn there from Bunnyhopper.
And it means now double Dragonmaw Scorcher is going to be a board clear, but there's just 4 damage represented coming back the other way from Languagehacker, so that's not an option for Bunny. Has to go digging.
But he's only running 1 Sun Fury as well, and he played it.
Yep, he did.
It's gone. And no Conjurers calling for Giant into Conjurers for the taunts. You win this one, and Languagehacker is not going down without a fight. That was a quick glance of the bracket then, but we'll get back to that in a minute. That could have been a 3-0 there. Bunnyhopper showing that Mage can lose, although he's been doing so well in this tournament. There are some weaknesses, and honestly, I feel like Hunter might just have a decent matchup versus Mage that was a little bit unexpected. It kind of is just so annoying and such consistent damage that Mage struggles to get there outside of a couple of heal cards.
Yeah, it's lost that matchup twice just in this series. Both sides have picked up the Hunter victory over the Mage. Bunnyhopper looked a little bit closer to getting it done. Like I said, there were some moments that looked very game-winning there. His decision to go Voodoo Doll Conjurer's Calling, I particularly like. The early decision with the Sun Fury, I questioned at the time, and I do want to come back to it. It did play around, you know, a lot of things with Spring Paws and Headhunter's Hatchets and so on, but it was such a huge sacrifice, as we saw later, in terms of defensive ability when he had a Fire Tree Witch Doctor to play anyway.
It was, and there's just the point where Bunnyhopper actually went for value with the Aragold book instead of pressure with the book into the Astromancer instead. Maybe 1 turn earlier was what he needed, but that's Hearthstone, everyone, and that's this series so far. Languagehacker fighting back, but is it going to be enough, as Bunnyhopper's going to be sitting on this Mage for a while? Find out after this if Bunnyhopper's going to take the win and take the series. It's the first match of the day, on the final day of the Hearthstone World Championship. Bunnyhopper leading 2-1. Just lost with his Mage, but now he's going to step into a Mage mirror match, as both players are going to be queuing it in. Bunnyhopper only needs to win this 1 game to move through to top 4. Languagehacker needs to win this and then some to even be able to have a chance. What do you make of these mirror match, Soddle, and mainly these lists? Because they are very, very different.
They are very different, but honestly, my experience of the mirror is that not a huge number of these differences in cards make a huge impact. Of course, they, as any tech card in any matchup will, give you small incremental fractions of percentage, either plus or minus, but this matchup is just so heavily dictated by the card Conjurer's Calling, by the card Book of Spectres, because that leads to the card Mountain Giant, that very little else really comes into play. If I was going to give an advantage, I would go slight advantage Bunnyhopper, because before seeing the draws, by the way, obviously right now,
yeah, nice
huge advantage Bunnyhopper, but before seeing the draws, he has those Arcane Keysmiths, which gives him the opportunity to pick up Counterspell and even more vitally Spellbender to really shut down the matchup.
Yeah, and this is a big deal. Personally, I would love to see Twilight Drake and Crowd Roaster thrown away and just go all in. He did keep Twilight Drake just for a bit of a safety net, but Book of Spectres, you've already got the Conjurer's Call in, and if you've not seen the way this deck can work sometimes is you want Mountain Giant ASAP, and with Coin and the Book of Spectres, you can get it on 3, and then you Conjurer's Coin on 4, and then your opponent cries a little bit unless they do exactly the same turn, and even then it's difficult because you have advantage.
Yeah, I'm curious about the Drake Keep as well. Obviously, you want to go fishing for Mountain Giant. You also want to go fishing for Khadgar, because that just ends.
Oh, that's even sillier.
That just ends the game at that point. And by mulliganing away a Drake, you could argue, well, you know, I'm losing my safety net. I'm losing my ability to, you know, play a threat early in the game. The chances that through your natural draws and Book of Spectres, after mulliganing away the Twilight Drake, that you don't get a Mountain Giant, or at least that same Twilight Drake back again to play early, are very low.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised. Like, I would have definitely just had an extra card draw for Mountain Giant, because I feel like it's so strong, and that looks like a Mountain Giant too. to me. And we are about to see the fireworks. The difference in power level of these two hands is frankly redonkulous.
I was about to interject because we're not quite there yet. There's an 8-8 Mountain Giant coming down here. Languagehacker recognized. 3-3 in play. Scale Worm in hand, rushes from hand to deal 8. The mind control tech play was crucial. It's the only thing that gave him a chance in this game. The second Giant coming off the top, that is the crucial one.
And now everyone watch Languagehacker's camera. We know what the play is more than likely, I would say, going to be from Bunnyhopper. Could feel confident about playing this Giant. Is susceptible to a Voodoo Doll play, though. Wait, no, he's not, because Languagehacker does not run it.
Nope.
Oh, wow. Oh, well. Okay, I'm slamming the Giant then. Bunnyhopper can go safe and then guarantee a Giant into, say, Conjurer's Coin later, but with no Voodoo Doll Soul, I'm sold. I'm sold. And Languagehacker, a bit of a smile and a chuckle as he's like,
amazing.
Wow, I killed the first one. I stopped the attack, but it was only a scouting party, Soul.
And you want to talk about bad feelings in Languagehacker's position. We talked about previously when you feel like your opponent outplayed you. That's the reverse for Languagehacker. Languagehacker felt like he had the Giant checked. He made the smart play. He would have felt good about recognizing that situation. To then be punished by the second Giant is brutal for him. You hear the crowd probably pop huge for that polymorph pickup, but it's not quick enough. There's going to be multiple threats all over this board before the polymorph can come down.
And the problem now, it's effectively a Khadgar turn because he can double Conjurer's Call in. It's not quite as powerful, but with Conjurer's Call in, Conjurer's Call in, you can't even say, okay, he has 2 Mountain Giants. I polymorph 1, I'm not quite dead. No, he'll have 3. You can't polymorph 3. That's it.
Bang. Make the big noise. It's a big noise because it lets you know you've done a good thing.
That is very, very true, and I like doing good things, especially with this mage deck. So basically these minions are giant speakers at this point. Conjurer's Call in. Double Giant. And then guess what? Coin again. Bunnyhopper saying, look, yes, this is not like the most overall powerful use of it in the deck, as no Khadgar, but how does Languagehacker deal with this? He could deal with the first Giant. Maybe he deals with the second eventually. He can't deal with 2 more, Sol. It's just too much. And this is almost 2-turn lethal. Well, it is 2-turn lethal. It's almost lethal in itself.
Yes, I mean, it's lethal represented. Bunnyhopper doesn't know that his opponent has a polymorph, so he's well within his rights to think he has lethal set up here, and it's why, like I said, you know, obviously seeing that polymorph come up was exciting to our crowd, but it's just a fraction of what Languagehacker needs to get out of this game.
Also, as well, again, we talked about Keysmiths every game that's been played, but now just the Keysmith backup of Keysmith Secret, 2 Giants go face. What can Languagehacker even do? It could be anything. Counterspell or Spellbender cause havoc.
And I agree.
Absolute havoc.
I agree that that is essential because Languagehacker now getting to the position where he can have a huge turn himself with Conjurer's Calling on a Mountain Giant just due to the size of his hand.
Right. So he could have put up a wall if he especially rolled double taunts and it, you know, puts the minions low.
See Languagehacker's lips moving here, talking to himself. I think he's trying to work out if there's any reason why sending this 2 damage into one of the Mountain Giants ever helps him win the game. Scale Worm Ping can come out from hand to deal 6.
It would be whether Astromancer, Astromancer's Summon Charge hits hard enough.
And here's another argument as well. He ships face there, leaves the 1 in damage in play because that makes his Rabble Bouncer cheaper. Bunnyhopper could choose to play around that by shipping the 1 in himself and just trading it off into the 2-2. But if he chooses to do that, Languagehacker just got 2 free face damage.
Wow. Sorry, actually the worst ones. Entity though.
Mirror Entity's fine. Yeah, I was gonna say. If your opponent's only possible turn to win the game is Mountain, okay. I think Languagehacker ran the numbers and said, what 3 secrets can he choose from here that I would beat? And the answer is none of them. Yeah, even without the Spellbender, even without the Counterspell, Mirror Entity is good enough because if he goes Giant, Conjurer's Calling, gets his 2/7/8 taunts, his opponent gets a whole extra 8/8, which then wins the game for him.
Yeah, and with the build of the deck and the hand, of course, there was no like 1 drop to sneak in there for some way to, you know, distract at least from the Mirror Entity chance. but that was it. And Bunnyhopper is going to be your first player to move into top 4, and he strides ever closer to that World Championship title. And that is a big, big deal. Bunnyhopper, I think overall, I liked his lineup, but most of all, I think he is just an exceptional Hearthstone player.
Yeah, and just look at some of these potential semi-finals. We have Bunnyhopper potentially facing off against practice partner and good friend Viper in the semi-finals, which could end up being a Grandmasters playoff as well in one of the connotations that we have. But then the alternative to that is Bunnyhopper versus Just Saiyan, which is another EU versus NA just mega clash in terms of the absolute top pinnacle players of their regions facing off against each other.
It is an absolutely fantastic World Championship player base, to be completely honest. Yes, we're going to say that. We're casters, we love Hearthstone, but honestly, when you just broke down 2 matches to lead into 1 match, absolutely amazing. And there's a whole other side to that bracket yet, and many more matches today. So I'm hyped. I'm super glad we got to kick off the day, but there's plenty more Hearthstone coming up. But for me, again, commiserations to Languagehacker. I love that guy. I think he's a really good player, and the short amount of time he's appeared before us, and then the improvements and the power level basically is displayed is very, very impressive. But unfortunately, someone has to lose.
I will say my heart does bleed for him, because when you go through what he went through yesterday, it's very tough. Like, a small part of you has to start believing your name is on the trophy. When you go through everything you went through yesterday and you come out the other side just kicking, screaming harder than you were before, you've got to feel like perhaps this is your day. And it turns out that I was talking about several of the moments where he just was in his own head, just that this has to feel bad for him. Because he just faced up situations that he just really didn't have answers to.
Yeah, it was really, really tough overall. But Languagehacker, fantastic player, and I know he will bounce back. But we do have plenty more coming up. But finally, just a congratulations again to Bunnyhopper. He is going to be going into the semi-finals. Cannot wait for that one. And then we get the joy to sit back and watch. We're going to be right back with some more Hearthstone, so don't go anywhere.